Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dr. Vincent Esposito, and today we're going to be talking about some of the signs of magnesium deficiency and what you can do about it to fix the problem. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe below. Coming out videos every week: nutrition, health, wellness, longevity, plant-based recipes, gut health, all that you can find here. So if you don't mind, please subscribe below. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So most of the magnesium in the body, in fact about 65% or so, is found in bone tissue, and another 25% of magnesium is actually found in muscle. Magnesium is a regulator for the absorption of calcium, which means it plays a huge role in bone health, as does of course calcium. It is the fourth most abundant mineral in the body and plays a role in literally hundreds of different reactions inside the body. And when you're low on magnesium, this can become an issue and manifest itself in a bunch of different symptoms we're going to talk about in a minute. This is compounded by the fact that somewhere between 60 and 80 or so % of Americans are magnesium deficient, and this is mostly due to diet, consuming a standard American diet, one that is not very high in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes. So magnesium is actually very helpful for preventing heart attacks and strokes. It's really important for regulating the contractility of the heart. It is also really important for relaxing smooth muscle in general. So most smooth muscle is located around the digestive organs. So it actually helps propel food along, allowing it to contract and relax when it needs to. This is also very important when it comes to blood vessels, because the walls of our blood vessels are essentially mostly smooth muscle. This allows them to contract when they need to, but also relax. And when we do not have enough magnesium, they don't tend to relax as they should, and this can lead to hypertension. Magnesium is also really important for proper immune system function, and also needed for most of our cells to go about their day-to-day activities. So again, it's a cofactor in those hundreds of reactions that can kind of manifest themselves in a bunch of different ways. So low magnesium is associated with a variety of different symptoms, and some of these include muscle weakness or muscle tightness, fatigue, irritability, muscle spasms, blood pressure spikes, cardiomyopathy, and even nerve conduction issues. So the foods we want to be focusing on to get magnesium, again, I kind of went over generally, but more specifically, you want to be focusing on things like dark leafy greens, seeds, cereal grains, soy and edamame, so soy products for the most part, avocado, oatmeal, peas, millet, just to name a few. And again, one of the major reasons that many Americans are magnesium deficient is mostly due to the consumption of the standard American diet, and this cannot be stressed enough here. Additionally, there are other factors that can play a role in inhibiting the absorption of magnesium, and this can include things like caffeine consumption, processed sugars, calcium supplements, digestive issues. So all of these can play a role in inhibiting our ability to absorb magnesium even when we need it. So with that said, let's get into some of the major signs and symptoms of a magnesium deficiency. So I touched on this already, but heart disease is a big one. There is a correlation between magnesium levels and heart disease. So generally, if you have higher levels of magnesium, there tends to be a lower prevalence rate of heart disease in general. And this makes sense because magnesium is responsible for a couple different mechanisms that can prevent heart disease. One big one, as I mentioned earlier, is high blood pressure. So magnesium is a smooth muscle relaxer, and when we have adequate amounts of magnesium, it will allow those blood vessel walls to relax, which lowers blood pressure. This is done by aiding in the release of prostacyclin, which allows those blood vessels to dilate, again, lowering blood pressure. It's also important for regulating heart contractility, so maintaining regular heartbeat is really important when it comes to magnesium. Magnesium is also important for limiting the calcification of arteries. And again, if magnesium is low, there is a higher chance of things like heart palpitations or arrhythmias. The next one on the list is muscle spasms. So magnesium plays an important role in muscle relaxation, as we mentioned before. So when a muscle contracts, we have calcium, it binds to a protein, and this initiates the contraction of a specific muscle. Magnesium actually competes with this binding spot. So if magnesium happens to get to that binding spot, it will allow that muscle to relax. Therefore, if there's a lack of magnesium, there is a good chance that you could suffer from cramping, muscle cramping, more often. The next one is poor bone health. So magnesium is actually just as important as calcium for maintaining bone health. The reason here being that magnesium is needed to convert vitamin D into its active form, vitamin D3, and vitamin D3 is needed to properly absorb calcium from the gut. Additionally, enzymes need magnesium as a cofactor to metabolize vitamin D effectively. So these reactions won't occur, at least at the rates they're supposed to, if adequate amounts of magnesium aren't present. And this could be a reason why people could still have low levels of vitamin D even if they are supplementing. It could simply be due to a magnesium deficiency as the underlying cause. The next sign could be a deficiency in other nutrients. So magnesium is really important for the absorption of other certain nutrients that we need. So for example, we mentioned calcium, but it's also needed for things like vitamin D and vitamin K to be properly absorbed and assimilated. The next one is a big one, and this is anxiety and depression. So there's a few different mechanisms as to why this might occur. The first one is magnesium can bind to GABA receptors, and this reduces the release of stress hormones, mainly cortisol. That is the major stress hormone. Now, if we have prolonged elevated levels of cortisol, this can lead to a variety of anxiety and depressive-like symptoms, including things like brain fog, dementia, mood swings, memory loss, insomnia, and a variety of different kind of other mental disorders. Magnesium also acts as a sort of filter in the brain. Magnesium is also important for regulating inflammatory compounds in the body. So things like cytokines that mediate inflammation can get into the brain, and over time, if there is too much or too many cytokines released, this could lead to potential brain damage over time. And again, this could obviously mess with the function of the brain if it's left unchecked, and magnesium plays a role in checking that. And chronically increased levels of cytokines are associated with a variety of different mental disorders, including things like schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, and an increased suicide risk. The next big one is fatigue. So magnesium is really important and plays a role in the production of ATP. And ATP is the main energy source used in the body. This becomes an issue because low levels of magnesium are associated with poor mitochondrial dysfunction. And again, this is where energy is made. The mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell responsible for making energy. So if we are not getting the nutrients and raw materials we need, including magnesium, then our mitochondria cannot produce the energy we need at proper rates. The next one is sleep disturbances. So magnesium is really important in getting proper amounts of sleep. So magnesium aids in activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a portion of the autonomic nervous system that's responsible for our rest and digest type functions. That's probably the name you've heard of it before. Magnesium does this by helping regulate the release of melatonin, which helps us get to sleep. And it also binds to GABA receptors, and GABA is really important for kind of helping the body wind down and relax. The next sign of magnesium deficiency could actually be hormone imbalances. So I mentioned before, cortisol is the main stress hormone in the body, and that could be an issue when magnesium levels are low. So magnesium is really important in preventing the excess release of cortisol. And additionally, when our HPA axis is not functioning properly, it can lead to a variety of different hormonal imbalances, which could lead to issues down the road. For example, if we take that cortisol example, high levels of cortisol can lead to glucose being released in the blood, and this can lead to insulin irregularities over time if this is consistently happening. It's also important, this HPA axis, for producing the sex hormones, so things like progesterone, testosterone, and the estrogens. And it also, like I said, plays a role in the release of insulin, which is really important for controlling blood sugar. The next sign could be gut issues. So I mentioned before, magnesium is a smooth muscle relaxer. So smooth muscle is obviously present in our blood vessels, but also in our gut lining. This allows food to get propelled forward. So if there are gut issues, it could be a sign of magnesium deficiency. Finally, magnesium deficiency can be a sign of other electrolyte imbalances. So the major electrolytes are magnesium, calcium, sodium, and potassium. And these all work together to help perform proper muscle contractions, proper nerve conductions, and maintain proper heartbeats. So I hope you found this video interesting. Again, if you might have any of these signs and symptoms, it could be worthwhile to just increase your intake of more magnesium-rich foods. It could go a really long way. But if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe below. Coming out videos every week: nutrition, health, wellness, longevity, gut health, plant-based recipes. You can find it all here. If you have any questions, let's chat down below in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions. And until next time, everyone, take care.